You wake up. You force yourself out of bed. You drag yourself through another day filled with obligations, frustrations, disappointments. For what? To do it all again tomorrow. To feel the same pain, to carry the same weight. People say life is a gift, but you didn't ask for it. You were thrown into this world, and ever since, you've been struggling to breathe under the pressure of simply existing. And you're not alone, because behind every smile, every polished photo, every motivational quote is a quiet scream no one wants to talk about. Why do we exist? Just to suffer? It's not a rhetorical question. It's the most ancient, most human question of all. And the darkest minds in history didn't run from it. They looked it in the eye, and what they found was brutal. This video isn't about cheap answers. It's about going deep into the philosophical and psychological roots of suffering, and maybe finding the one truth most people are too afraid to face. 1. Existence, a silent burden. To exist is not a choice. You didn't ask to be here. You were born into a body, into a time, into a system, without consent. And from that first breath, you began to suffer. Hunger, cold, loneliness, fear. These weren't lessons. They were your first reality. As you grew older, suffering didn't go away. It just changed shape. Now it's stress. Now it's heartbreak. Now it's anxiety, regret, disconnection. You're told this is normal. You're told to smile through it. But what if suffering isn't a glitch in the system? What if it's the core of the system itself? What if pain is the price of being conscious? 2. Schopenhauer. Life is a mistake. Arthur Schopenhauer, one of the most savage minds in philosophy, believed life itself was a cosmic error. He wrote, "Human life must be some kind of mistake." Why? Because life is ruled by one thing, the will, an irrational, blind force that drives all beings to survive, reproduce, and consume. And this will, Schopenhauer argued, is never satisfied. You get what you want. You feel relief. Then the emptiness returns. Desire after desire. Chase after chase. And in between, restlessness, boredom, emptiness. Schopenhauer believed that suffering isn't just part of life. It's the foundation. Because to live is to want, and to want is to suffer. Even happiness, he said, is just the temporary absence of pain, not a condition in itself. You're not chasing joy. You're running from agony. And when you're not in agony, you feel nothing. 3. The illusion of meaning. Schopenhauer didn't believe in destiny. He didn't believe in some cosmic plan. He believed people invent meaning. To cope with the horror of a meaningless world, we work, we marry, we chase status and stimulation. But underneath it all is a silent desperation, the knowledge that it's all just passing time, until death. He wrote, "If children were brought into the world by an act of pure reason, would the human race continue to exist?" That question isn't meant to shock. It's meant to reveal the truth we hide behind optimism, that life brings more pain than peace, and yet we keep going. Why? Because we're wired to, not by reason, not by purpose, but by will. 4. Buddhism, the truth nobody wants to hear. Long before Schopenhauer, another mind also saw life as suffering, but from the other side of the world. Buddha didn't theorize about suffering. He dissected it, and his conclusion was clear, brutal, and inescapable. Life is dukkha. Life is suffering. Not sometimes, not occasionally, but always. Doesn't matter who you are, rich or poor, healthy or sick, famous or forgotten, you suffer because you're conscious. You crave, you cling, you fear, and every moment of happiness you experience is shadowed by the fear that it will vanish, because it will. Buddha's 4 noble truths don't sugarcoat reality. Life is suffering. Suffering comes from desire. Desire can be extinguished. There's a path out of suffering. But here's what most people miss. Buddha never said life would be easy. He said if you want to stop suffering, you must kill the illusion of control. You must let go of pleasure. You must let go of self. That's not comfort. That's war against the very instincts that drive you. 5. The escape that is an escape. We try to escape suffering every day through distraction, through consumption, through religion, love, dopamine, achievement. But it never works. Why? Because you can't escape yourself, and suffering lives in you, not in the world. You scroll endlessly. You chase experiences. You drink, you laugh, you lie to yourself. But the silence always returns. The Buddhists call this samsara, the endless cycle of craving, disappointment, rebirth, and decay. Schopenhauer saw it too, and so did Emil Cioran. 6. Cioran. Birth is a tragedy. If Schopenhauer saw life as a mistake, Emil Cioran took it one step further. He believed birth itself was the original catastrophe, that to be born was to be cursed with awareness. He wrote, "It is not worth the bother of killing yourself, since you always kill yourself too late. That's not despair. That's cold clarity." Cioran believed suffering wasn't something we fell into. It was the very structure of existence. And the cruelest part, we know it. Animals suffer, but they don't question why. Humans suffer and ask questions no one can answer. We suffer, and we dream of a life without suffering, a life that doesn't exist. 7. Consciousness, a curse in disguise. Cioran believed that consciousness is the real burden. The price we pay for being aware is to feel the full weight of pain, loss, and pointlessness. To think is to suffer twice. We grieve the moment, and then grieve our grief. We suffer loss, then spiral into meaninglessness. We invent ideas like soulmates, heaven, or fate, just to cover up how random and indifferent reality truly is. Cioran wrote, "The fact that life has no meaning is a reason to live. Perhaps the only one." He didn't offer answers. He offered mirrors. And when you look in that mirror, you either break it or you break through it. 8. Nietzsche. Suffering isn't the enemy, it's the fuel. While Schopenhauer and Cioran saw suffering as a cosmic curse, Friedrich Nietzsche took a darker, more defiant approach. He didn't try to escape pain. He wanted to master it. He wrote, "To live is to suffer. To survive is to find some meaning in the suffering." To Nietzsche, suffering wasn't a problem to be solved. It was the path to greatness. All strength, he said, comes from hardship, from surviving tragedy, from being broken and rebuilding yourself stronger. He called it amor fati, the love of one's fate, not just accepting suffering, but embracing it, loving it, using it as the raw material of your transformation. He saw comfort as the true enemy, because comfort breeds weakness, and weakness leads to despair. But pain awakens you. Pain sharpens your mind. Pain reminds you that you are alive. 9. The birth of the overman. Nietzsche believed that man, as he is now, is not the end, but a bridge to something greater. The Übermensch, the man who creates his own meaning, his own values, his own destiny. But to become that, you must walk through fire. You must endure loss, humiliation, isolation, failure, and not just endure them, but own them. Nietzsche didn't lie to us. He didn't promise paradise. He said the price of greatness was pain. But if you're willing to pay it, you can become unstoppable. 10. How modern life makes suffering worse. And yet, we live in a time that promises the opposite: comfort, pleasure, endless escape. We sedate ourselves with distractions, scrolling, binging, buying, numbing. But all of that avoidance only makes suffering more powerful, because the more you run from pain, the more it owns you. Nietzsche saw this coming. He wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. But what if you've never found your why? What if you've never suffered enough? To go looking? That's the dark irony of modern life. We suffer from suffering, and we suffer even more from trying to avoid it. 11. The will to power. Nietzsche believed there was a way out, but not out of pain, out of weakness. He called it the will to power, the raw force within every human being that drives us to become more than our circumstances, more than our trauma, more than our excuses. It's not about happiness. It's about strength, clarity, creation. And that strength is forged in the furnace of suffering. You don't rise above the pain, you rise because of it. 12th, Viktor Frankl, Meaning in the Darkest Place. While Nietzsche gave us the philosophy of defiance, Viktor Frankl gave us the philosophy of survival. He wasn't just a thinker, he was a prisoner. Frankl survived Auschwitz, where he lost his family, his freedom, his dignity. But what he discovered in the worst of all human suffering was something unexpected: meaning. He wrote, "Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how." That wasn't a metaphor. That was a truth carved into him. Through starvation, beatings, death, and despair, he watched people die, not because they were weak, but because they lost hope. They lost the belief that there was still a reason to take another step. And he realized something. Suffering without meaning kills, but suffering with meaning transforms you. 13. You can't control pain, but you can control how you respond. Frankl's insight was this: you can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control your response. You don't get to choose your trauma. You don't get to choose your losses. You don't get to choose your birth, your genetics, your childhood, but you do get to choose whether you let that suffering destroy you or define you. He wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. And sometimes that's the only thing left, but it's also the most powerful, because suffering in the end forces you to confront yourself. Stripped of comfort, stripped of distraction, you meet the real you. And that's where rebirth begins." 14. Suffering is not optional. Here's the truth: you will suffer. No philosophy can save you from that. No lifestyle, no mindset, no God, no prayer, no therapy, no lover. Suffering is not an accident. It's the cost of being alive. To breathe is to bleed. To hope is to risk heartbreak. To love is to risk loss. To try is to risk failure. You don't get to avoid it, but you get to choose what it turns you into. 15. The final shift. The question isn't why do we suffer? It's what will you do with your suffering? Will you drown in it, or will you burn it into something useful? Schopenhauer surrendered to it. Buddha transcended it. Cioran cursed it. Nietzsche used it. Frankl transformed it. And now it's your turn to choose. You exist. You suffer. That part's not negotiable. But what you build from that pain is everything. 16. The beauty hidden in pain. So, why do we exist just to suffer? Maybe we don't. Maybe that's only half the truth. Maybe suffering is the price of seeing clearly, of becoming conscious in a blind world. Pain wakes you up. Pain strips away the lies. Pain shows you who you are when there's nothing left to lose. And that is sacred, because without suffering, you wouldn't grow. You wouldn't question. You wouldn't become. The people who suffer deeply often love deeper, think clearer, and move with greater purpose, not because they enjoy the pain, but because they survived it. 17. What suffering reveals. Here's the secret nobody tells you. Suffering doesn't just hurt, it reveals. It shows you who your real friends are. It shows you what truly matters. It shows you what you believe, and what beliefs were never real to begin with. Suffering burns the inessential, and what's left, that's you. That's your soul, your fire, your will. So maybe the question isn't why do we exist just to suffer? Maybe it's what kind of person can you become through your suffering? 18. The final challenge. Don't numb your pain. Don't silence it. Don't apologize for it. Study it. Transform it. Use it. Because the people who survive the fire don't come out the same. They come out sharp, clear, unshakable. You're not broken because you suffer. You're becoming someone unbreakable because of it. If this video hit something deep inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who's hurting, someone who feels lost, someone who needs to hear that their suffering is not the end, but the beginning. Drop your answer in the comments. What's the one truth suffering taught you? Let's build something real down there. And remember, this journey isn't over. The next video is waiting. Your mind is evolving. Your pain is not your prison. It's your proving ground. See you in the next one.